Jedi, at last we will have revenge. The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. Now you will experience the full power of the dark side.
Welcome, followers of the Dark Side and the Light. I'm your host, John, the real JP3, and I'm joined as always by my good friend and fellow Sith Lord, who is a master of the dark side, expert on the occult, and obtainer of rare antiquities and holocrons. Please welcome Dark Lord of the Sith, David.
Good day, mate.
Good day. How are you? We're Australian today.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on. I just noticed that I've got like this little pimple thing coming in, and I'm not happy about it. But it is episode 104, John.
It is
104, man.
104.
Ready to do this?
I'm ready to go.
What are we talking about today?
We are talking about books, Triple Force Friday, and our great character Thrawn.
And don't forget about the oppression of the Rhodians in the Outer Rim territory.
That's true. That's true. That was going to be our
Recently,
topic,
they've been
guys.
coming over a lot of flack. It's ridiculous. They're being oppressed. I heard the Bothans got involved. The Twi'leks, they were pushing back. It's an all-out revolt, and it needs to be stopped. We need to get coverage on it.
I agree. We're going to get coverage, guys. This is that was going to be our main topic, but we decided to just mention it and talk through it, and then we'll report later. Speaking of the fact that you mentioned Twi'leks, have you heard anybody else call them a different name?
Not that I can think of. Why?
I've heard people call them Twi'leks or Twi'leks.
It's just the pronunciation.
Or I think I even heard one that was Twi'leks, which I was like, there's a W in there. I don't know if that's right.
I've heard Twi'leks, Twi'leks. Those are the only two I think I've heard.
And so it was a weird name, and I can't remember. And it's been months. And when you mentioned it, I don't know why that just like popped in my brain. It's like, yes, David, about this. And so I was just curious. I know there's different different ways to say it.
Yeah. It's like
but
tomato,
I was just curious.
tomato, potato.
Yeah, I was just curious if you had heard it.
Potato. Yeah, I've heard it say both ways. It just, I go Twi'leks, whatever. Just depends on the mood.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I want to go to Galaxy's Edge and have a beer with a Twi'lek and be like, hey, how's it going? You have head tails. I don't.
Maybe by then they're gonna have the cast members dressed up into that type of.
I really hope that they do. It feels wrong wandering around that place without there being droids, without there being aliens, because to me that's the essence of Star Wars. It sounds like they've hit on everything else, except you don't have a Rhodian walking around. You don't have a Greedo looking cat, bumping into you at the bar. Imagine if you walked into the Oga's Cantina and a Twi'lek bumps into you and like gives you like a little flirty smile. Or a Trandoshan is walking by and is like, move along, and like, get out of my way kind of thing. I think that would make the experience. Because then you're like, I just bumped into that guy. He's crazy. He's a bounty hunter. I don't know who he is. He's a Mandalorian.
You're going to want to follow him. You're going to want to spend more time with him and talk to him. I see it.
What's your point?
What?
No,
down a rabbit hole, spending more money at the bar.
And then at that point, I'm going to sit down with a bounty hunter and be like, hey, I've got work for you. And then just put some like credits on the table and be like, you see that big guy over there? No? Too much?
No, but I imagine I can foresee you doing this without credits. It'd be hilarious.
Oh, it's going to be great, man. I'm going to document the whole thing.
He would have somebody else document it, so then he's just sitting like as an innocent bystander. So then when I look at him, and I know it's him that did it, and he knows that he did it, then he'll be like, sitting right here having a beer. I don't know what you're talking about.
Much like when I snuck that water bottle into your bag when you went through security and TSA was all over you.
Yeah, whatever.
That was great.
Bad person.
The look on
So
your face was fantastic. You're like, oh my god, what's going on? I don't
it
have
was a
anything.
horrible day. I was like, give me my backpack back. He's like, sir, I need to check it. I said, give it back to me. And he was like, sir, I need you to calm down. I was like,
I need you
and
to
I
step back.
and I looked for Dave, and I was like, Dave, and I was like, give me my backpack. And he's like, sir, I need to go through your backpack. So do you have anything here that I need to know about? And I'm like, no. What are you talking about? At this point, I'm like profusely sweating at this point. Like, I'm the person that they're like, this guy's got something. No, I'm not the guy. And I'm like, no, I don't have anything. He was like, what's this? And I was like, my water? Is it just water, sir? Yes, it's water. I forgot to take it out of my bag. I've been at a convention for 5 days. I was a little thirsty. Forgive me. Well, this doesn't pass our limit. You got to have less than this, and it can't be this type of liquid. Okay. And he's like, well, what do you want me to do? I said, throw it away. If that's all that's going to get me past
and the
security, then throw
entire
it away.
time I'm just laughing. I'm just laughing because I've
He's at
already
the gate.
I've already passed through TSA, and I'm like,
And he was
Just
like, it's at the
snicker.
gate. And I was like, you just want me to throw it away? I said, yes. He's like, well, I need to swab your backpack. I said, for what? What are you going to swab it for?
For
And I
nitrate,
see if
John, for
there's any
chemical
explosives.
compounds, yes.
And so then he does it, and he was like,
You're
okay, you're
clear.
clear, sir. I said, yeah, I know. Thanks. Have a great day. And I walk away. But it was the most agonizing, terrifying thing. And I went through that airport a couple of months ago for a work trip, and I was like, oh my God, this is where I got stopped. And I like ran through I dug through my bag, and I was like, please tell me there's no water in here. That was
That's
my
awesome.
experience
That's awesome.
with TSA. But you brought up Galaxy's Edge, and this really isn't like Star Wars news, but I figured I would mention it.
All right, I'm listening.
So, Bob Iger was on the board of directors for Apple. And once Apple announced that they were launching Apple Plus TV, Bob Iger resigned from the board of directors the same day, saying that it would be a conflict of interest. However, due to the fact that Apple and Disney have such a great relationship, they're going to continue to have that relationship. But Bob felt that I could, as being CEO of the Disney Corporation, he did not feel comfortable remaining on a board with a company that was a direct competitor of theirs. I was like, I see it. Quite classy there, Bob. Classy.
Did he get a payout? Did he walk away with cabbage in his pocket? Did he sell his shares? Did he sell his seat on the board? What?
I don't know. So
There's more to the story. It's like the Antonio Brown getting released from the Raiders. Yeah, I think I lost you there, buddy.
You did. I'm still here.
I'm telling you,
So,
John. No. I'm telling you, this is exactly like the Antonio Brown leaving the Raiders, getting crazy, like next day going to the Patriots. It's a conspiracy. I'm telling you, right now.
So I don't know this, but obviously they probably have some shares. But board of directors, to my understanding, do not get paid for their time as being a board of directors
they
for
don't get
Apple.
a check, John. They get it under the table. There's a
Okay.
guy. There's a guy, John. There's shady deals.
So regardless, so he actually took Steve Jobs' spot on the board of directors. Before Steve died, he asked Bob, he said, can you please take my spot on the board of directors? And he's been on the board for 8 years.
That's intense. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that was what the article said. So it was very hard for him. He and Steve Jobs were very close. He knew Steve Jobs. He was like a friend to him and everything else. And when he died, he was like, Bob, I want you to take my spot on the board, which I think is a pretty huge ask. And Bob did it. But I get the whole point of them willing to, or him willing to say, you know what, we're competing. We can't do this anymore. The question I want to know is, curious, do you think that he knew about Apple TV Plus prior to the announcement, but didn't resign because they would probably everybody would assume that there was something coming up and why he resigned?
I guarantee Disney's been working on a streaming plus service or streaming service for a while. Same thing with Apple. That stuff just doesn't pop up overnight. Those conversations, I guarantee, happened a year ago at least, maybe more.
Yeah.
But now that they're getting ready to launch and it's time to come to fruition, hands off.
Yeah, and so also Apple TV Plus will be launching a month earlier than Disney Plus streaming, and it will be cheaper than Disney Plus.
But it's also a standalone. It's not already connected with Hulu, ESPN Plus, so
Yeah, very true.
that's where you get a little bit more of the upcharge, I think.
Yeah, so that's the thing. But I thought that I thought it was very classy of Bob to say like, all right, this is actually happening, and I work for Disney. They pay my paycheck. I cannot sit on the board of directors and endorse something that is a direct competitor of mine. So that was pretty cool. Just thought I'd throw that tidbit out there when you mentioned Galaxy's Edge and Disney.
No, appreciate some tidbits, man. You're giving me pearls. Giving the listeners pearls, man. Look at you. Just you're like an old sea hermit, just collecting pearls.
Handing out pearls.
Just collecting pearls. So proud of you, John. They grow up so fast. You ready to do this? What do you want to talk about first?
So let's talk about the Triple Force Friday toys.
Okay.
You mentioned something to me about I didn't hear about this, but you mentioned that some toys may have gotten released.
Some have gone awry. Some have been spotted. So I'm scrolling through my Facebook page, and I've got a bunch of different Star Wars fan pages on there, different podcasts, different groups that either collect books, like you see behind me, pops, anything. And I'm seeing more and more of people that have the Supreme Leader, Kylo Ren, with the helmet and the red Kensuke, the helmet remake, essentially. I'm seeing Seventh or the Second Sister, whatever that one is from Fallen Jedi or Fallen Order. Is it Fallen Order? Right? Fallen Order?
Jedi Fallen Order, the video game?
Yes.
Okay.
As well as the main character, the Joker kid, who's going to be playing the Jedi, the Mandalorian, the Sith Trooper. So someone botched it. I'm not going to say who. It's not my place to drag names in the dirt. But a retailer, they let a couple boxes slide. Obviously, whoever was putting out the toys didn't see that the box said street date, do not release, and there's some floating out there. What are your thoughts, John?
Yeah.
Have you seen it? Have you heard it? Is it
I haven't
happening
seen it, I
in
haven't
your
heard
company?
No.
Are
It's
you
probably
sure?
not happening. Is it happening in yours?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, if it was happening in mine, I would know about it. So the thing is so this has happened.
As you have like a
before.
case in the background right behind you,
No,
I'm like, oh, there's
no.
a Mandalorian. John, give me the Mandalorian.
So we've talked about this,
Yeah,
that like Disney is very, very strict on their guidelines of when they release movies,
Yep.
when they release toys or anything that has certain dates that things have to happen. And releasing those things early could cost you your licensing agreement with Disney and being pulled where you don't get to sell those items anymore.
And that doesn't just affect one store. That affects your entire company.
No, it's the company.
Your company.
They will pull it from the company. So one store could ruin it for the whole company, which is if in today's age, competitive nature takes over. We have so many retailers competing for people's business that making that decision in one store and it ruined it forever. That's pretty big.
Yeah, you can't be the odd guy out then.
Yeah, because then everybody else is going to go to your competitors, and your competitors are going to have it because they paid attention.
Especially with a property as big as Star Wars.
Yeah.
Wait.
So I will tell you that this did happen. This did happen with, I think, Avengers. The Avengers in-game toys were I think the same retailer that we're talking about released them early in some of their stores.
Oh, man.
There were phone calls that were made to Disney and saying, hey, like, this isn't right. Like, we don't get to do this. And they said, you know what? We know about it, but there's not much we can do about it. So then most other retailers made the decision, said, all right, screw it. We're going to launch too. There was no ramifications for those events happening. I think it was in-game and Spider-Man and Captain Marvel toys that released prior. They were released like 2 weeks prior to when they were supposed to.
See, so then that just tells you, okay, their license didn't get pulled.
No, and they said, like, whoever manages it for the Disney Corporation, because there's somebody who manages it, it's a different company, but they said, well, we know it's happening, but there's not much we can do about it. And it's like, no, you literally said in your agreement that you would pull their licensing agreement. So maybe this is that same retailer was like, you know what, they didn't do it last time, but again, you're messing with a franchise that is extremely big for Disney. Marvel is really big. I'm not trying to take anything away from
No,
Marvel,
it's
but
just as big as
let's
Star
think
Wars.
about this. Let's think about this. You were just this is over a 40-year. Disney doesn't want to mess it up. They took control of it, ownership of it. You know, it's a big thing. But at the end of the day, you and I both know this, Dave. There's no consequences to the wrongdoings of actions. Nothing's going to happen.
True.
If people are not, if there's not consequences to people making decisions outside of the rules, they're going to continue to do it until they get their hands slapped. And that just builds more ammunition for them to say, hey, you're going to slap us on the third time and we've been doing this 2 times before and you knew about it? Come on. Legally, you didn't abide by your contract, so you can't hold us accountable for it. I see them getting a warning, slap on the wrist, saying, hey, guys, you can't do this again. You can't do this again. Or you know what? We're now taking this down to where you only have a subset of stores, a number of stores that are allowed to release this because we're gonna fine you a little bit. They're gonna hit their sales line.
Yeah.
But if they, this retailer's not dumb, just like most retailers would be like, you know what? Well, I can't put it in that store, but I'm gonna put it in like this store that's like 5 miles down the road.
We're gonna advertise I'm just gonna
that way.
Quote Yoda real quick. Failure is the greatest teacher.
True story.
To quote Yoda on a Rule of 2 Star Wars Sith-centric podcast, drop the pin or pin.
That's my mic drop. I couldn't really drop it. The editor gets super mad. It's a lot of noises. Yeah. Loud noises.
Oh, huh? That's a good reference. Yeah. But those toys are out and about. So how wild are you expecting it to get? And not just at the retailer that you work for, which we're not going to disclose, nor will we disclose the one that I work for, but how big do you think it's going to be?
So I think it really depends on your strategy plan and what things want to work. So you can release them. I think it's October 4th. You can technically put them out, I think, at 12:01 a.m. So stores that are open during that time frame. I know that other retailers have said, you know what, we're going to open a little bit longer on this day just to get them out there. But anything that's hot for the market, LOL dolls are a big thing right now.
It's creepy.
Yeah, those are creepy, but it's like the hottest toy on the market for girls right now. I am extremely
fascinated, and I find them adorable. The ugly dolls.
Oh, I see that.
Those are they're adorable, like the little mutant-looking things, like blobby little heads and one eye. They're adorable.
Well, because you're kind of Satan. That makes sense.
Well, I am appalled. I am appalled, good sir. I am calling your mother.
If he had feelings, they would be hurt right now, guys. If he had feelings.
That's true. Luckily for you, I don't, John.
So anyway, it wouldn't matter if you did.
Yeah, that's true. God, you take everything away from me.
It's no, I just know you. So it's I don't think it's going to be a huge thing. Yes, you want to be the retailer that carries it. You want that impulse buy or whatever it is, but there's not much extra I think that people do. You can build displays and all that other stuff, but I think if you have them out there, people are going to buy them.
No, for sure. So I agree. They're going to be out there. They're going to be bought. Will we continue to see more get leaked? If you come across some in a store, are you going to buy them?
Probably not.
If you're walking down the aisle and you see a Sith Trooper Black Series right in front of you, you know damn well it's not supposed to be out yet. Are you going to buy it?
If it's in the retailer I work for, absolutely not, and then I'm going to have them pulled. If it's in another retailer...
Can you call me first? Use your burner phone.
Oh. No, if it's in your retailer, I'm definitely buying it.
Pulling your membership.
I wouldn't do that.
You can buy it, just don't give me one, because then I'm going to be accompanied to it.
So, if I saw one... First of all, if it was in my own retail establishment, I say no, I wouldn't do that. If it was yours, I'd call you. But anyway, so I don't know. So the first thing when you said, you're like, so you wouldn't buy this. The only reason I would buy it, and usually you're the one that takes care of this, is it's for like a contest that we would do or something like that. But I'm not going to buy a Black Series Sith Trooper for myself. Like, I'm not going to buy a Black Series Supreme Leader Snoke or anything else for myself, it would be something we would want to give away to fans or have a contest for.
I just think that Mandalorian looks bad. Like I am tempted to buy the Mandalorian. Like I have a few Black Series figures that I didn't purchase myself. They've been gifted to me. I graciously accept them, but I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of buying them myself, because then I will feel obligated to be the completionist that I am and get every darn one of them. And I don't want to go down that road. I don't have the bankroll to go down that road.
Mind you, Dave's over here saying that, and then he bought me a whole bunch of Funko Pops, and now he's like, "Oh, they have different sizes now. I think you should buy these." And now I'm like, "Oh, I gotta buy them." And then like the girlfriend's over here is like, "Do you really need just a little bit taller one?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
John,
Dave already bought these."
John, this is how it starts. This is how it starts. Then she takes over, and then she's like, "Do you really need to do this? Do you really need to do that?" She's planting seeds for the future of domestication, John. I'm telling you right now, this is your time to assert yourself before it's too late.
Relationship advice from yours truly, David Noyle.
I'm just saying, before it gets worse, next thing you know, I don't even know. Next thing you know, she's going to be telling me, "John, I really want you to wear suspenders. You look cute in suspenders."
I've worn suspenders before. Those are cute.
It's happening.
Remember when I wore suspenders? I thought it was kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, when you're 5.
I wore them when I was like 20 something.
Exactly. When you were 20.
Just for a contest. It was a contest thing. Just because I'm over 30 means I can't wear suspenders now?
Unless you're out there in the fields doing some work, you're an undercover agent pretending to be a farmer. It just doesn't work, John.
My dad used to wear suspenders all the time when he farmed.
Exactly. He farmed.
So he was like getting in and out of this tractor all the time. You have to pull your pants up. It's not really good. And he wore a belt too. It didn't work.
See, either way, she's planting the seeds of domestication. John, buy the Black Series. Do whatever you want. Buy the It Funko Pops. I support you.
It's your job to support me. You're my friend.
Just not financially. I support you.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
Hey,
we go.
I've already supported you enough financially buying you the first full set. So lock it up.
Some of them he lost in a poker tournament. That's why we don't play poker anymore, because David now wins everything.
Anyway, Black Series figures are out. I think Triple Force Friday is going to be huge. You know, you got 3 different avenues of figures, books. You know, think comics are coming out also. Like it's gonna be madness. I'm down. But I don't think I'm gonna partake. I don't think I'm gonna buy anything other than that Journey to Force Awakens. No, the Journey to the Rise of Skywalker book. The one with Poe looking all dashing on the cover.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I don't even know what the heck that book is called off the top of my head, but I just remember him looking all very iconic and looking off into the distance.
Don't you have the other 2 from The Force Awakens and... Is that the dictionary one? Or is it different?
No, that's not the visual dictionary.
Okay.
This is a legit novel.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. We talked about this. Okay. So speaking of it...
Now you're going to make me go look for the name of the novel.
Oh, dear Jesus. So speaking of novels, guys, guess what? Our friends at Audible have hooked us up, the Real to Star Wars podcast, with a link. If you go to their Facebook page, the first post, you can see Vi Moriarty and Delilah S. Dawson's new book, Black Spire. If you click on that link, it will give you 30-day free trial to Audible and 2 free audiobooks if you sign up with our link. Again, 30-day free trial, 2 free audiobooks if you sign up through our link with Audible. Download any books you want. You got The Rise of Skywalker that's coming out. You have Black Spire that came out.
Resistance Reborn with Poe looking off into the distance, all manly.
Exactly. We're going to talk some more about Thrawn today. Check out Thrawn, get those books, start reading them, see if you like them, go from there. But just saying, Audible, pretty cool. 30-day free trial.
They read to you.
2 books. They do.
Just imagine you're a king and that's your squire, just like walking around reading to you all day. You can feel extra noble as someone reads elegant words to you and makes different voices for different characters.
I feel like it'd be really cool if Audible heard that and be like, "Oh man, we should do a thing where it's like, Audible, or like, Squire, stop reading at this point."
That's how it starts. Oh, every time you hit pause, it says yes, my liege, and then like it just
Yes.
pause. Oh, that would be cool.
They're like, Squire, I'm receiving a phone call. Please pause your reading.
Anyway, guys,
Audible? Awesome.
just think about
You
it.
should try it.
Let us know. No, but Resistance Reborn, that's the new one coming out. John, I don't think you're gonna pick that one up. You're not much of a reader. You're only really reading the main staple books of the characters that everybody goes crazy about. You weren't even gonna really listen to Dooku Jedi Lost or Master and Apprentice until the rave reviews started rolling in. You devoured those books. You loved them. Now you backtracked a little bit. You went and read the new canon Thrawn, just title Thrawn. What'd you
I
think?
did. I really liked it. Really cool. A lot of different characters. I knew Thrawn was a beast from when I saw him in Star Wars Rebels. Davis talked about Thrawn, knowing a little bit about his story, where he came from, and things like that. Then to listen to a book about Thrawn, how he worked the political game, how he worked his own agenda, and managed to become one of the highest ranking, or one of the highest ranking officials in the Imperial Navy. Like, come on. Like, I felt the entire time, like, this is where, like, how do you explain? Like, the Emperor was like, oh man, I'm pulling the strings on this guy.
Metron Naruto.
Yeah, I'm pulling the strings on this guy. He does everything. He walks into everything I need him to do. It's boom, boom, boom. And then when you listen to the book and then you get through the book, you're like, pretty sure Thrawn's been pulling the strings on the Emperor, but in true Thrawn fashion, he doesn't say anything. He says, yes, His Highness, yeah. Yes, I get it, blah, blah. And the whole time he's been working his entirely own agenda. And for me, that was huge. And there was points where I was like, how did this dude find this out? His thought process, his methodical thoughts and thinking through situations, gathering information, setting traps, and then on top of it, following up. Like, if he didn't get an assignment because he didn't get there fast enough, or he needed to gather more information, and the Imperial Navy leaders were like, no, we're going to go now. Thrawn found a way to be there and learn his opponent, because he knew they were going to then call him. That, to me, is like the strategic mindset of this dude. I don't think I've ever seen anybody as strategic as Thrawn is. And the way that is written, and the way that the story's told, is just amazing. And the fact that you hear, what do you want me to calm down?
I want you to slow down. I want to flush things out. I want to talk more about it. Like right now, you're on the soapbox. Like you always tell me to get on the soapbox.
You're on a soapbox all the time.
I know, but I just want to throw this out there. So let's flush out some more of this conversation. Don't be giving me that mean little I'm wearing suspender face. Mind you, all those out there that are wearing suspenders right now, if you're listening, I'm cool with it. I just give John a hard time about it. Keep rocking those suspenders. If you want a rule of two, a Star Wars podcast patch to put on the front of your suspenders, hit us in the DMs. We'll send you one. I forgot what I was gonna say. No. Okay, so you said at times you felt like Thrawn was pulling the strings on the Emperor.
Yes.
I didn't see that. I felt of it more of a symbiotic relationship. That the Emperor needed Thrawn's knowledge of the wild space, the outer regions. So he allowed Thrawn to do certain things that he normally wouldn't another Imperial officer. Because he needed something from him, and he knew he wasn't going to be able to bend him to his will through dominance. He saw Thrawn as a resource. And he's like, hell, I can go ahead and mine him for information, for hyperspace routes, for whatever the hell is out there in the unknown regions, as well as strengthen my own navy by giving him some autonomy, by bringing him into the fold. Just my thought. What is...
Your thought's wrong, but it's okay. some of us are wrong every now and then. It's all right, Dave. Accept it. So the part that gets me that it was a little bit less than symbiotic. Thank you. Is the whole point of how he came in contact with the Galactic Empire and the Imperial Navy from the beginning. That's what makes me believe there was a problem, that the Chiss found a problem or had a problem. Excuse me. The Chiss had a problem. They knew, or they researched, they sought out a way to fix that problem or make it better. And then they enacted a plan. And without getting into like spoilers of the book, the Chiss, mainly Thrawn, devised a plan, devised a story to make sure that he was picked up by the Imperial Navy and went through this whole thing. And the whole time I'm thinking of, oh wow, like Thrawn, like really wasn't accepted, like his people were not a fan of his. And then you get to the end and you're like, holy crap. Like it just kind of, I don't know, it just does it. It feels like they strategically put things into motion as an alien species to make sure Thrawn ended up where he was. And because of that, it was as a benefit to them. However, I will agree the Emperor did need more information about the unknown regions or wild space, and sought it as a opportunity to use Thrawn's knowledge. But in reality, if Thrawn or the Chiss didn't need the Emperor, he would have never had that opportunity. That's why I feel it was more of Thrawn pulling the strings. That's my 2 cents.
It goes back to the analogy, the story Thrawn has with Eli Vanto. Eli Vanto, a great character, love him. He really gets flushed out and grows throughout this book. By the way, it's fantastic that he's back in Thrawn Treason, but he has a story where he tells Eli, there's 2 of us against a predator. What are the options? Either we band together to kill the predator, or you perish and I get away. That's all he's doing. He's testing the Empire. He wants to see what the Empire's like. If they're going to be an ally or a hindrance for the wars to come, the issues to come, which we later come to find out that it's the Grisks. But you didn't see that as symbiotic?
I saw parts of it as, but I'm telling you, and I texted you and told you this, and without getting into too much detail about the ending, when I heard that, or read it, because my squire read it to me, I was like, okay, this all makes sense now. Like this symbiotic, yes, I could go with that, but in reality, if there wasn't a need for the Chiss to get involved, I don't think the Chiss would have ever gotten involved. That's why I feel it was more pulling the strings.
No, I'm going to fight you on that one. So the Chiss knew they couldn't face the Grisks alone. That they were looking for an ally in the Empire. And you'll see more, because right now you've only done book 1, my man. You got book 2, and you got book 3. It's a little bit difficult to have this conversation because I already have both. I've read the 3 Thrawn books, the new ones.
So you need to forget about those in your argument.
No, I am, and I'm the only points that I'm making are the ones that are relevant to book 1.
Okay, so I get the point that you said. They knew they needed an ally. They couldn't defeat him themselves. They knew that. So that's why my argument, going back to, if the Chiss didn't need them, then they would have never sought out the Emperor. They would have never sought out the Empire. So in reality, they needed them. They needed that relationship, and they put a strategic plan in motion to make sure that they became one and rose through the ranks in whatever plan, or they knew they had a path, and they got there. yes, symbiotic, I agree with you. They needed the relationship and it then became a two-way street. But if they would have never needed them, if they could have defeated them by themselves, in my opinion, it would have been a different story.
Yes, but they needed them. That's why it's symbiotic. You're answering and validating my point of that they are symbiotic.
So, but that's what I'm saying. That I get what you're saying.
And,
I don't think I'm explaining this correctly. If they would have never needed them, then there wouldn't have been anything. So in reality, the Chiss set the puppet motion into place. The Chiss were the ones that made the first move. They're the ones that came up with the strategic plan to make it happen.
But the Emperor also was the one that promoted Thrawn and brought him into the Navy. That wasn't on Thrawn's mind. That wasn't in the Chiss's mind of that happening.
Okay.
So that's when, if anything, that's when the Emperor changed the playing field a little bit.
He could have changed it a little bit, but I also feel, and Timothy Zahn said this about how strategic Thrawn is. I think Thrawn would have been able to do what he needed to do. Get the Emperor's help, be able to protect his people, everything else, if he wouldn't have gone through those ranks, because they immediately took him to the Emperor. I think that relationship would have still happened. I'm not discounting that.
Mm-hmm.
But as Thrawn grew and was given opportunities, he didn't expect that to happen, but it happened. He quickly and easily adapted to what he needed to do to make sure that he took care of his own agenda, which was his priority. I still believe that protecting his people was his number one priority. And that he will say that there are certain parts in the book, though, where he says, like, well, that's not the right thing to do for the Empire. But in reality, his number one priority is his people.
No, 100%. Like, that is the end game. That is the long game. That's the move he sees that he has to make 20 moves from now. But in order to get there, he's got to do this, remain in the good graces of the Emperor before he could use the Emperor or become like in a position to parlay and say, hey, you need this, I need this is a common enemy, let's do this together, kind of thing. So I guarantee it's in the forefront of his mind, but he's got to tiptoe. He's got to be not a yes man, but he's got to be the man, the Chiss that keeps the Emperor happy and the Empire moving in the right direction.
And I never ever thought that he was a yes man.
No, he's not a yes man, and that's why when I started saying it, I was like,
nah, he's not a yes man.
He's not a yes man. He's the I can get things done man.
He's I can get things done man.
More efficiently.
More efficiently, but it's going to benefit my people and me in the end.
Yes, but you also have to think not everything that he did benefited the Chiss. So when he helped those annoying aliens, the ones that in the audiobook, you remember those?
Yes, I was just very scared to hear you imitate that. Let's leave that to Mark Thompson.
I don't have a career in audiobooks. But like that interaction had nothing to do with the bigger picture of helping the Chiss. It helped him continue moving into the ranks of the Empire, which would inevitably help him potentially help the Chiss, but not everything. I don't think he stayed up at night thinking about the Chiss ascendancy in the manner that, okay, I got to do this for them. I got to do this for them. No, it was, okay, let's see how it goes. Let's do this. Let's do this. Okay, let me stay in the good graces of the Empire so that I can help the Chiss.
And I would agree with you. So I think we could sit here and argue forever. We're not arguing. We're having a discussion.
We're adults, John.
So I agree some part of the relationship was symbiotic, but I also feel that, and I granted, I haven't started books 2 and 3 yet. I started 2 and I had to restart it a couple times.
I had to do the same thing when I got into it, yeah.
So I haven't read 2 and 3 yet. So I'll see how this kind of plays out. And at the end of it, I may agree with you that I'm like, okay, no, this is full on. It's not Thrawn pulling the strings. So regardless of that, I think we can agree to disagree. It is a symbiotic relationship.
We can agree that Thrawn's a beast.
Absolutely. Very strategic. I don't know of any other character in the Star Wars universe that is as strategic and thoughtful and methodical as he is. And you kind of issued a challenge before we started this, and I know we're only going to touch on this a little bit, is name any other character in any other movie or any other universe that's as strategic or intelligent as Thrawn. And it was very difficult. It was difficult. And so, who in your mind do you think is as strategic or almost as strategic as Grand Admiral Thrawn in another universe, movie, character, whatever?
You know, the one that jumped out at me from the very beginning, Sherlock Holmes. Whether it is the Robert Downey depiction or the, Benedict Cumberbatch version that you get from the TV show, or all the way back into the books. He's got that level of intellect that, it seems like he knows everything, but half the time he's piecing it together as he goes, but he has a vague inclination of what it might lead to. And you see that in all the Robert Downey, movies, the two Sherlock Holmes movies you have, where he kind of knows, he's examining it, it's in the back of his mind, and in the entire movie, he's working whatever he found out in the very first scene, or what started the case. And at the very end, that's when everything comes full circle, and he explains it to you, which Thrawn did a few times in that book, especially when he's talking about the Tabana gas theft and things like that. So I think the closest depiction that comes to mind is Sherlock Holmes. The second, and the only reason I'm even bringing this one up, is because I turned and looked at my bookshelf. Ender's Game.
Oh.
And you didn't read the book. Ender is a beast.
I saw the movie, though.
No, I saw the movie, too. It didn't do it justice. I'm telling you, it didn't do it justice. Those of you guys out there that watched the movie, were fascinated by it, and want more, read the book. There's so much more you get out of it. There's, I want to say, 10 books that don't even talk about just Ender. It talks about Bean, other characters that you come across in that universe, that galaxy, and it really fleshes it out. That is the only other person that I can think of that is in the same league as Thrawn. The one difference is Ender's obviously a child. He's got a little bit more psychological issues, and I don't mean like he's crazy or anything. I just mean that he's not as emotionally stable as Thrawn is. We've never really seen Thrawn lose his cool like some of these other characters.
Two great characters in other universes, other movies. Sherlock Holmes, and we were talking about this, is he literally uses every single bit of all of his senses to identify something that can help him along the way. I think it's really awesome. I enjoyed watching Sherlock Holmes. I like the Robert Downey Jr. ones. I haven't seen the TV show where you kind of see him go through the motions of what happens. And usually it goes exactly that way. And you're like, oh, it's in the movie. And of course it's going to go that way. Well, not in reality. It's like, okay, no, he thinks through it. But I compare it to Thrawn, and I didn't get a chance to mention this earlier, but Timothy Zahn, and we've talked about this, Timothy Zahn has said the easiest way to defeat Thrawn, or the one time that Thrawn can be defeated, is if he doesn't have all the information. And I think that is depicted in the books a little bit. You know that when Thrawn didn't get all the information, or doesn't have time to gather all the information, then that's when he gets defeated, which is very, very rare. But I think Sherlock Holmes is the same way, that if he didn't have all the information or he miscalculated something, that's when his downfall will occur. Ender's Game, didn't think about it. When you said it, I was like, oh my God, yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
literally, I didn't think of it at all until I turned my head and I was like, huh.
Yeah,
Ender's
so
Game, yeah.
Yeah, he's very strategic kid, just the thought process and his methodical thinking of what he went through and kind of how he devises his plan, very, very good. But still, like, if he doesn't have all the information, now granted, there was parts there was at the very end of Inzer's game, he didn't have all the information. He didn't really know what he was doing. And in turn, he didn't realize it. I heard there was supposed to be like a bunch of other movies after that first one, but then they said no.
It didn't hit as well as they wanted to do, which I think if they would have turned that first movie into not even a trilogy, but a duology, I think it would have been awesome. Just 2 films encompassing the first book, I think it would have sold like gangbusters, man. I really do.
Yes. So I read, I didn't read it, but I watched the movie in theaters, and then I bought it when it came out. It was a really good movie. But 2 characters, absolutely, 100% agree with. The one that I came up with, and you kind of questioned it a little bit, but I get it, is Mel Gibson's character in The Patriot. He's part of the militia. One of his sons gets killed. The other one is taken prisoner by the British. And just his process of being strategic, of ambushing, using everything at his disposal when, there's I don't know how to explain it, when there's a wrench that's thrown into his plan or something that derails it a little bit, he's able to quickly come back to it. However, there are parts in that movie, if you remember it, that he miscalculates the actions of some of the British soldiers, or one British, he was a colonel, wasn't it? Colonel Tavington. Yes, I love that. He miscalculates him at some points, and it pays, like he ends up paying a debt. So just, that was the only other character that I could think of. I wouldn't say that he's at Thrawn's level, but his strategicness, his ability to use the resources at his disposal with very little resources at that. But Thrawn's used a lot of stuff with very little resources too. I would say that was the other character that I thought of.
And again, just looking around my room, looking at my bookshelves, only one aspect of this character is like Thrawn, and it's going to be the military aspect of it. Everything else falls very well. No, actually, it's a lot closer than I'm thinking now that about it. Yeah, Robb Stark, the young wolf, military savvy, just like Thrawn. Political, and deciding to behead one of his freaking generals, horrible. He didn't think about what that would do politically to the rest of his troops, his ranks, which that's what Thrawn struggles with. The political side, because Thrawn wants to do what's right.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Robb Stark did. I don't know. Just a thought.
I'm like running through Robb Stark's scenes in Game of Thrones. I would agree with Robb Stark. That is
like, now that I'm thinking about it more and more, I'm like, shoot, that's pretty spot on.
Very strategic in his military ability, what he chooses to do. Thinks about the losses that he could incur if he does a certain plan, but also thinks about, we could have lost less men if we would have done this. Like the backtrack, the rethinking, making sure he understands and knows his enemy. Robb did a very good job at that. But I agree, the political side of it, that he was not so good at that, and you agree, Thrawn struggles with being politically correct or being political in how he handles situations. But that's why you have politicians like Yorinda Price on your side that help with those situations.
And I'm really surprised you didn't say Tyrion Lannister. I felt like you wanted to.
No, so he's strategic, but he was not. Honestly, even when you just said his name, like most of the people you say their name, I'm like, yeah, I get that. Like even when you said his name, I'm like, he's strategic, but
does he fall a little short for you?
Really?
Sorry.
I don't know. There was a lot more mishaps that Tyrion had that I wouldn't have expected. Because he miscalculated
season and whatnot.
Yeah, he miscalculated several instances and situations that, in my opinion, based on his experiences and what he learned, he should have never missed. And there was also a point of, I feel that sometime, I'm trying to compare somebody, he's more like Eli Vanto and the Daenerys was Thrawn, but absolutely not, because he had no control over her whatsoever, and he tried, but he miscalculated and misstepped so many different situations that I felt he should have learned after all the mistakes he made. So that's why I would say no. I think Thrawn makes a mistake or miscalculates something, but before he makes his next mistake, it's a long time, because he makes sure to then think 15 times or 15 years ahead of that one, 15 years ahead of that one. Those are just my 2 cents.
Fair enough, Johnny. So, when are you going to finish Thrawn Alliances? The second installment in the new series of Thrawn books.
I need to start it.
You got a lot of traveling coming up. This is perfect reading time or listening time with your squire.
I do. I probably will need to. It probably won't be this week. I'll probably start it next week, because I do have a lot of travel coming up and a lot of time to be able to listen to it. So I'm going to commit to starting it next week, and that'll get me through 2 weeks of travel, because I'm on a plane part of the trip and then in a car the rest of it. So I shouldn't have any problems, but I will start it, and I have a commitment. What month are we in? It's going to be October. I would say by Thanksgiving, and that's pretty
book
long.
By Thanksgiving?
That's long.
That's ridiculous, John. You should be able to kill 2 books by the time you come down to help me move.
I have a feeling that because of how many times I've had to restart Thrawn Alliances, it's going to be hard for me to get through.
You should be done with it by the end of the month, bud.
Well, that's you. Not me.
We're not going to get into the intricacies of your bathroom time, but just saying.
Anyway, I will commit to read that book. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
And when I say your bathroom time, John, I just mean your morning rituals of taking your time, getting ready, making sure your hair looks all nice and pretty for the 20 minutes that you style it. That's a chapter of Thrawn right there, bud.
I know. That's why I listen to the first Thrawn. But anyway, guys, check us out. TeePublic, Patreon. Oh no, not Patreon. Sorry.
Patreon has been pulled to make way for bigger, better things.
I guess
on the rise.
So we mentioned that we were going to be rebranding. However, TeePublic is still up. Our designs, if you want to get the Rule of Two, a Star Wars podcast designs, that still is available. But other than that, we will have our winners from our 100th episode contest announced on Thursday's episode. And check our friends out at Ultra Sabers. You can get a lightsaber. You can enter the coupon code Force Feels at checkout. We'll get a 10% off from the Rule of Two, a Star Wars podcast. It does not work on already clearance sables or accessories. But we thank you for tuning in today. Oh, I messed it up. We thank you for tuning in today, guys. We are the Rule of Two, a Star Wars podcast. And as always, may the Force be with you.
Thank you for tuning in today. We are The Rule of Two, a Star Wars podcast. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Rule of Two Pod. Check us out on our website at www.theruleoftwopodcast.com or send us an email via contact@theruleoftwopodcast.com. Check us out on Patreon and TeePublic for exclusive deals and merchandise. And we are in no way affiliated with Disney, Lucasfilms, or the Collider Podcast Rule of Two. And as always, may the Force be with you.
The Sith will rule the galaxy. And we shall